and also the Druids, it's never mind. So season 14 is closing up on us, and I just wanted to make a quick tier list video and also a little bit of build guide and showcase the different builds you're going to play and expect to play in season 14. So from testing PTR, so the patch notes, there haven't been really big changes. We've lost signets, so we lost some tiers of damage, and at least when it comes to push, but at least not for the speed builds or speed variants. Going to season 14, probably the strongest builds are going to be Shred on LightningStorm. A lot of you might say, hey, we played Shred on LightningStorm already in season 13, what's new? Well, there's nothing new about the builds. The build just got some buffs, because Storm Shepherd going into season 14 got some nice buffs. The 5-piece is doing the X500 now, and the 2-piece is doing X60. Further, why these builds are performing good, because of these buffs, the snapshot you can do in these buffs just makes these builds really viable. Last season we had the Companion, which was profiting really good from the Resolve stacks. That was Companion was overperforming, being the best build. Going into the season 14 with the new changes to the Storm set and snapshotting, Shred and LightningStorm are going to be the strongest builds. To say if Shred or LightningStorm is going to be stronger is a little bit tough to say right now, because Shred profits a little bit more from the Storm Shepherd snapshot. Because in verbal form, you really can't make the old mountain that efficient, so you gotta play some AU as a ref and LightningStorm and all your storm skills profiting from the snapshot. While with LightningStorm, you can still play River, have your resolve damage, your Orison Ring, have some VR, and it also profits from the snapshot, but the Shred profits a little bit more from the snapshot, so that's why the Shred might have a little bit of an edge, depending if you're going into the season 14 of the snapshot. It's been in the PTR, it's been reported, so we gotta see if the address is a snapshot. If the snapshot gets addressed, LightningStorm might have the edge. And then further in the A tier, we have the Werenado. Werenado is a really fun build. You can AFK and Helltide, just spam your tornadoes and go away. It's a fun build. It's a little bit weaker than Shred LightningStorm, and the pure reason is because you don't really have lightning tag on your tornadoes, so that's why you're losing some buffs on multipliers. That's why it's a little bit underperforming. Landslide already was really good last season, thanks to Bowler, who was rocking with almost a tower 140, 41. The build now can implement the Basilisk into the build, which also is really nice for Landslide. So Landslide, all Werenado should do somewhere around tower 130 to near 135. Companion still strong, losing around 15 tiers, but it's still performing somewhere around tower 135. But all these three builds probably going to be weaker than Shred or LightningStorm. And all the other builds I just put in B tier. I really do not recommend playing Pulverize. The Orison Strength lost the bug it had with Sylvia wants the Earth tag. So Pulverize really has a lot of issues to make the build work. I don't recommend playing Pulverize. Then you always have the other builds like Basic Skill Generators, Rabies, Red, all those probably going to underperform compared to the Shred and the other builds we already had last season. So yeah, let's go on and look into the different builds. Okay, before we look at the builds, I really quickly want to explain how the Storm set works, and also after this explain the snapshot. So the Storm Shepherd gives you an X60 damage every time you press or cast a Storm skill, eating all your resources. So if you can repeat these steps using Storm skill, filling up your resources as many times in 2 seconds, your damage keeps on scaling. Let's say if you do this for 10 seconds and 10 times in 2 seconds, you're getting around X600 damage, which will be then itself from damage-wise around 7 tiers. So the whole idea of this build is stacking resources, attack speed, to keep on regenerating resources and get full resources, eat all your resources with the Storm skill that you can see here, and then buff all your Storm skills. That includes the Storm Shred, and also you're going to max points into the Heroes of the Storm, which also gives code damage. So you're just stacking, you keep on stacking these X60 over 2 seconds. So if you do, for example, 10 times in 2 seconds, you're getting X600, and that's why the build is performing this well in the season, especially. Also, the 5-piece are getting a buff. So that's the idea about the build. Further, I'm going to explain also the snapshotting, what the snapshotting is exactly. Using the Storm Shepherd set, you can actually snapshot your 5-piece, your X500, into the run and keep this X500 buff for the complete run. So you can see this is still from the live season. but it was still working in PTR. So in the season, we only had X300. So we were saying this build is buff. People are saying, what's the buff? This X60 is already in the X60 is a buff, and also the X500. You can see I'm just using Storm Cloud as a storm skill. I'm hitting for, if my 5-piecer doesn't proc, if my 2-piece doesn't proc, I'm hitting for around 3,000 damage. I don't have any gear. This is yellow gear just for the testing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle my Hero of the Storm, because the Hero of the Storm can snapshot the 5-piece. The actually X500 damage in the PTR is X500. Here in the live season it was only X300. You can see I toggled it. The numbers weren't looking good. I toggled it again. The numbers weren't looking good. Now we saw I just hit for 50,000, 50k damage, and compared to the before, I got the X500 snapshot onto my Heroes of the Storm. And this X500 snapshot is staying in all of the Storm skills. You can see my Storm Claw is now hitting for above 10,000, while before it was hitting only for 3,000. So the whole idea of the snapshot is you're going to run or pit, whatever, tower, open world, whatever you're going to do, wherever you are. And if you don't change locations, if you don't top or out, if you don't like go in and out of a tower, you just need to toggle once your Heroes of the Storm. It's like a 1 in 4 chance. There's a 25% chance. You can try it again. I just capped twice and I got it. I think this is all here in the season. The live season is only like it's 150, the 2-cast one. But you can see my Storm Claw is now hitting for like almost 9,000 damage, while before it was hitting only for 3,000. So this is currently the snapshot. If the snapshot is staying in the game, Shred might be stronger, because Shred doesn't benefit from playing the old mountain, while LightningStorm can still play it really good. So if the snapshot is staying, both do profit from it, but LightningStorm might have the edge. So that's what I'm saying. Depending on what the snapshot is going to do, we can judge which build is stronger. So I'm quickly going to go through the Shred builds, and the planners are all linked below. So if you want to take more time, look at the builds. So keep in mind, this is the build we played in PTR. Since the PTR, we really don't have that much time to test anymore. Maybe through the season, people are going to test and find better variants. But I think this is generally a really good variant for anyone to play. It's fast. It has nice AoE. With this build, you probably can't even push it to a tower 135. As said, we're losing the Signet, and we're unsure what the snapshot of this 5-piecer of this Shepherd. If the Shepherd stays in game, you probably could reach around the tower 140. If the snapshot is moved with a Signet gone, probably around 235, somewhere around there. So this is like a standard version, so keep in mind there might be changes through the season. So the idea is since we're not playing Resolve, we're not playing Glyn, we have toughness issues, we're going to play the Captain's Birthright because of the Herb Edition being nerfed so hard. Like, toughness is still obviously an issue, so I would prefer playing this, especially it allows us to automatically cast Cyclone Armor, so you don't need to cast Cyclone Armor on your bar, allowing you to put the Wolves. Gives you more skill to play. It's a great item. Then we're going to play Debilitating Toxins, any DR on here, because we're not stacking Resolve, we don't want to play Glyn anymore. But Dark Hall, if you get a Mythic Unique in the season, it's a bigger multiplier than any other aspect you can get on the gloves. Furthermore, the only option you might have is Fist of Fate. Not a fan of Fist of Fate, but might overperform there. The good thing about the Dark Hall is letting you play Debilitating Roar while you are in the werewolf form, which gives you some DR again, not DR, but toughness, let's say. Tip as well is quite important for the build, depending on how it performs, we might drop it or see how it does. But currently, the idea of the build is to generate Unstoppable. Either is if you want to play it through your Bulwark, or you can also play it through Bloodhall to get Unstoppable and get a 50% resource generation, which is really important for the build, for the 2-piecer as mentioned before. On the boots, I think the Great Storm aspect is the best aspect you can play on any LightningStorm build or any Lightning build, because first of all, it gives you just a free source of ferocity, which is a 5% damage every time, and it also gives you a DR. So this is probably set in for the boots anyway. And as a ref, in the season was really great because we played Signet, so it was just performing really good. Shred lacks AoE, as you can see in the run. It's always fun, to have explosions, and especially if you want to do big clears, it's always nice to have some AoE. As a ref still gives us that option if you want to, for example, even play with Frostburn and also put some lucky hit chances to freeze. You're still able to freeze, and even if you stack crowd control duration, the amount of freeze you do on a pack is huge. We keep on hitting them for a few seconds, and then you get an X. Even if you get a mythic unique, is even bigger. Get an X damage multiplier on the freeze, and as you can see, then just explodes and does a nice AoE clear. I said in the season we gotta try if there's better variants. But currently in the PTR we played Azuref, which was really fun. The Multiple Crescent is a question if it's gonna get dropped in the live season, and we play another amulet. Don't see really the blood hall being not that necessary for the build, but in PTR it was fun plusing it. It's really fun for speed builds and casual builds because you don't even need to have blood hall on your bar. It's just auto cast it for you, and it's also sort of unstoppable if you don't want to play unstoppable on Q, and you can play the T-Bits will. On the ring, I don't like the Thunderstruck and Thunder God ring, so I just want to play the Crushing Aspect. It's just too unreliable, and Shred also does like the echoing damage, so yeah, I think the Crushing Aspect might overperform. Then on Thunder God, then Jade Arita is a good ring, even as the Mythic Unique. It also gives you Spirit Regeneration, as said before. Spirit Regeneration is really important for the build. Then we play the If the Star Totem, giving us the option to play as a river, further also giving us a good damage multiplier with the Mythic Unique, even as 30% more. And we also have Spirit Cost Reduction, which is also really important again for the build. On the boons, we just played Give Up Stack for resource. Evian Ref is just a no-brainer. Calamity to reduce your Grizzly Rage duration, and Come Before the Storm with Overlord. Since the Overlord also gives you 15% cast speed and your lightning skills, the going directly into Shred is pretty great, and Come Before the Storm to just reset your Grizzly Rage duration. Further, we're going to just stack cooldown reductions because we're not playing anymore the Thicker Steps. I guess everyone's going to be happy about that one at least. Then on skill, we're maxing Heroes and LightningStorm, Heroes of the Storm, because still we're stacking lightning damage, so it's a good source of AoE damage. Further, we're going to play the Storm Shred, obviously, and on here we for sure take the cast speed. On Urban Bulwark, I did not take here the Unstoppable because we're getting the Unstoppable through the Blood Hall, which just has also really good uptime. So I'd rather just take here the Overpower, which is also like some gains of added damage, better than nothing. Damage is damage, I guess. And for Cyclone Armor, I still like to take the pull. Pulling is always fun. And as I said, because of the gloves, we can play Debilitating Roar, which gives us some toughness. And we have the wolves in here for the reason that we can actually take it throughout the hunt, which gives us the 100% upgrade on every wolf. Every wolf side, that means the attack speed. When our wolves do critical strike damage, we're getting a 40% attack speed, which is really great again for the build. Because it's all around resource generation and attack speed. While I'm playing Hurricane, because this variant of Hurricane, you can just keep it on all the time and just get some weakness on the enemy's weakness is some type of DR. You're going to see how much DR we need, but DR is always great, as we all know. And you just put 1 point in Grizzly Rage, because Grizzly Rage just does not give you anything. Putting 15 points into Grizzly Rage gives you 2 seconds cooldown reduction, nothing more. And at Paragons, we're going to play Spirits in the starting board. We're going to play Earth and Sky and Thunderstruck, Constituent Shingles and Fang and Claw, and Fulminate and Heightened Malice, and lots of Carnage and Keeper. So if you really want to look deeper into the build, I think I had another video which I explained a little bit more, and I'll link the build below. You can look through the build yourself. As I said, keep in mind this is the PTR version. We might switch up during the season, but in the PTR that's really good. Around tier 140 was possible, but that was a sticknet and a snapshot, so we gotta see if the snapshot is added in the season. Else this build is probably going to easily perform above Tower 135, and as you know, it's also really great speed build. So if you want strength, push, and speed, Shred is able to go. So the next big build which is going to be contending for the top Druid build this season is going to be the LightningStorm. Unfortunately, I don't have footage for the build, but if you want to see how the build performs, feel free to check on LTiles.com. Atos has a really good run there, did a pit 145 even without the snapshotting. So yeah, if you want to see gameplay, be sure to check them out. The reason why I am still coping between this or Shred, the reason is the snapshot. If the snapshot is fixed, the LightningStorm is profiting from the true fact that it can play Might of the Earthen via the Grizzly Rage. Obviously, you can play Old Mountain, also with the Shred, but then you need to take the Avatar of Nature, which is some damage loose. So that's the downside if you want to play Old Mountain on the Werewolf set. But if you're keeping the X500 snapshot, you don't need to play Old Mountain probably on the Shred, so you gotta see for that for sure. And that's why it's still not. I'm unsure what's gonna be the strongest build in the season. We gotta see. We gotta test. Especially gotta test the LightningStorm Snapshot is staying. And even if the LightningStorm Snapshot is staying, we gotta even see if the Old Mountain is still being better. I generally like the Old Mountain more because it gives you AoE. You don't need to play as a ref. You don't need to stack freeze. You can stack toughness, and that's why I think personally LightningStorm is gonna be stronger than Shred. Shred is gonna be faster, more fun, but I don't think the difference is that big when it comes really to tower push. The highest tower push might be a few tiers, like I don't know, like probably 2-3 tiers. Lightning Storm is gonna be above Shred, but as I said, we gotta see how the snapshot is gonna be in the live season. The other thing about this build is, which might be a no-go for a few of you. You for sure need a Mythic Seal on this. You need a Mythic Seal to be able to play Old Mountain, and the 3-piece from the Storm Shepherd. 3-piece lets you get some DR. It lets you use the 2-piece of the Storm Shed, and you're also getting the 5-piece from the Old Mountain. So same thing like playing the Companion. You want to have a lot of Petrify. You want to have CC to cast Old Mountain, and then the build is almost the same like the Shred. Almost you see the gear is also the same. Just play Might of the Urzen here, and just play Pushing aspect on your weapon, and you also play aspect of Inner Calm. If some people say two-hander, I know I'm playing paper using one-hander weapon and one-handed totem seems like more damage, but testing in season, I always have the feeling two-hander performs better. Don't ask me why. We will see. So the build generally is quite similar to Shred. The only difference is we are playing here the Storm Strike as a basic skill. It allows you generating some really good resources. Then you're just going here's the Storm, Lightning Shred, same thing. These two are your source of damage, and again you just put 1 point into the Grizzly Rage here. Further, what's really cool about this build is you can play the Old Mountain, the Storm Burst again. The Storm Burst will give you some toughness. It's a 30%, 30% armor. It's toughness. It allows you to trigger Old Mountain easily. That's why I personally think the LightningStorm might be better. So if you want to check out gameplay, be sure to check out Helltides. Athos did a really good run. And yeah, that brings us to the next build, which is going to be Werenado. Coming back to one of the favorites, myself, always enjoyed playing Season 0, Season 1. The reason I'm playing Druid was Werenado. Werenado is back. It's a little bit weaker than Shred and LightningStorm because we just don't have the lightning tag anymore on the tornadoes. But as you can see, you can still AFK and the Helltides. As you can see, this was in the PTR with the new content. I was just AFKing, and my tornadoes were just seeking the enemies, and I was just AFKing, num-locking my right click. As you can see, the build is a bit weaker and slower than Shred. But if you want mobility, you can just put in maybe also 2-piecer of the wolf set and give some mobility. So we're gonna look at the build itself. Shred actually have quite the same setup, so we really don't need much different gear to play Werenado and Shred. The only difference is Werenado is the physical damage, so lightning damage multipliers on your gear you don't profit from. You can still profit through Hero of the Storm, but the Werenado itself is the physical damage. Or else the gear is completely the same gear. As I said, only multipliers are different, and the glyph and the paragon. We're again playing the Birthright as a helm for the DR. You're playing the Diligent Toxin, any DR on here. We're playing the Dark Call again just to cast our Debilitating Roar in verbal form, which is still a good multiplier, unless if you want to really go for Fist of Fate. I don't think you can find any bigger multipliers. Gives us toughness. T-Word Swirl again, just for the resource generation. We are unstoppable. Greater Storm aspect on the boost, which is great. It gives you toughness, it gives you attack speed, and the free source of ferocity. As a ref, again, just as I said, for the AoE. AoE is always fun in the build. Seeing explosions, big packs dying is fun. You're playing in the If This Torrents just to play Grizzly Raid in a verbal form. Malefic Crescent just for a Blood Soul. I'll say also believe maybe on Werenado we're going to switch this up. The questioning aspect, because here for sure Thunder God's Ring does not work because you're not doing lightning damage unless you want to increase your damage on your LightningStorm. So the build is the same. It's legit, almost the same thing, but rather than going Shred, you just go into your Werenados. You want to play the explosive one because the Seeking one feels really great. The Seeking one goes on the mob, especially on the bosses, and you really want to hitting Mobs Elites just gives you resource generation, and as I said, the whole idea of the build is around the two-piecers. So yeah, the next difference is the Paragons, because we don't have LightningStorm here. We playing consistent tendrils and heightened malice, and that's for Carnage. So the only changes are once you can't have lightning multipliers on your gear, else the gear is the same, and Paragon boards, you just need to switch up the lightning glyphs and board to others. Just play Dominate in here. That's why it's actually really cool that you get Unstoppable via Bloodfall. This allows us to use Q and the overpower from the Earthen Bulwark. That's why we're playing Dominate here. And that's the biggest change. Earthen Sky is still the same. You just gotta play Fang Claw still the same. And just gonna switch up Dominate, and else it's almost the same build. Yeah, that's to the Werenado. So as I said, it's the same thing like Shred, so I explained the most things on Shred. I just don't want to prolong the video. Feel free, I'm gonna link the planner again if you really want to look closer. And since it's a longer video, I'm not gonna go that into detail of every build, but you guys know if you have questions, just put in the comments. I'll always answer them. I'll try to answer most of them. I actually do answer most of them. So this brings us to the next build, the Landslide, which is probably gonna do around near Tower 135. And Boulder already rocked this build during the season 13. It's almost still the same build. The only change I see, which is really cool, is you can now play the Basilisk together with the Locron's Talisman. With the Basilisk itself is not the biggest damage boost, but it's as a mythical, it's still okayish, giving you around 110 X damage. And the cool thing about it is you're getting with the mythic, especially around 120% crit chance, and this makes you able to play Loken's Talisman. Loken's Talisman itself is a X150, special Mythic Unique is like a X180. But the downside always to this amulet was the crit chance. You're losing 50% crit chance. And the only way to make this work is obviously Basilisk. The Basilisk just gives you 120% crit chance. So you just need to stack 40% crit chance, which is not really a big issue on the build to make this work. I also would probably prefer to play the Den Mother and the Den Mother with the Old Mountain set. So you will need for this build to perform at its best a Mythic Seal. You don't need to do it for sure. You don't need to play Den Mother, but I personally think this is the strongest version. You can also play it without. Just put in T-Wit's Will and put a defensive aspect in here, get some toughness. But I think for push, this will be the strongest version. And yeah, the skill tree is the same thing. We play Here's the Storm via Overcharge to get some source of vulnerability, especially with Che not giving vulnerability anymore. We do need some source of vulnerability. We play again the Wolves from some attack speed, and the rest is like always play some. You can play some Earthspike to get some Overcharge stacks and also regenerate resources if you have issues with there. And yeah, probably it's better to take out points out of Grizzly Rage, as I don't believe Grizzly Rage, putting any points into Grizzly Rage is really good. But really, I haven't tried that much as a build. I tried around a little bit with it, but it's not going to be the strongest build. It's not going to be that good as in Season 14. So that's why I did not play around that much with it. If you really want to play Basilisk and Locron's Talisman, this is a build to go to. There are for sure ways to still make this build better, but this is a general idea I would have had for a build. The next build is going to be Companion. Don't wonder, this is still my build from the season 13. I'll probably switch over the build to season 14, because if I switch it over, it's going to be gone on the season 13, and still people might still be playing, so that's why I still left it there. I'll do the final changes at the weekend. As you can still see, it's my 150 clear on the tower, and the build generally lost through the Signet of Pilgrim around 4 tier, let's say, and through the Shepherd also 4 tier, and also the Resolve stack, some tiers, 7 tiers, 8 tiers. So generally, if I did a pit 150 in the live season with the build, we're losing 15 pits, some best case scenario. This is still capable of doing a pit near 135, but with Shred and LightningStorm being there, those builds are going to be stronger, so I don't think like I will be playing Companion this season, which I'm happy about. I guess no one has Companion. So the things that hit this nerf, this build, is beside the Resolves nerf, the Shepherd nerf, and the Signet nerf, is also the crit chance issues and the toughness. We probably need to switch the aspect of reanimation from our amulet, because as you know, this aspect, if you both keep on dying, you don't profit from this aspect that much, because you just get the max damage if your wolves are at least alive for 10 seconds. With Glyn gone, with the resolve stacking gone, probably gotta switch this up for Stampede and put Stampede on the amulet. So yeah, I need to look into this. I'm probably gonna update it the weekend, but I just wanted to say I did test the build in the PTR. Unfortunately, I don't find the video anymore. I did it tower 100. I'm paid 133 or something around with it, so it's still capable of doing a tower 135. I did not switch up the gear. I just took my gear from the season into the PTR. Didn't really do any adjustments. And 132 was actually really easy going. It just wasn't that tough, but yeah, no, my gear for the season was really good. So I'm going to switch up the builds for the season 14. The weekend, I just want to share my thought and tell you where the build is probably gonna end up at live season. And even if it lost like 15 tiers, you also gotta say, you get mythic uniques. If you get a mythic unit, Aqua of the Wilds. If you get a mythic Storm Companion, you're still getting some buffs. So the build also maybe a little bit better than maybe did not lose completely 15 tiers. It's probably also around a tower 135, but not being S tier, being below Shred, LightningStorm, or probably even Werenado. So the last build on the tier list which I tested in PTR was Pulverize. I thought because of the Rotting Knight, the Purified Lightbringer, and the Mythic, I thought this build might get a boost. My honest opinion on this build is don't play Pulverize. And before last season, at least we had the Earth tag because it was a bug on the aspect of Ors and Horror. We still had the Earth tag on Pulverize, so actually you had some benefit from the Earth skills, and we just lost that. So playing the Pulverize as it is with an AoE damage with the overcharge in this setup, taking the greater Pulverize with the damage bonuses from the eating the overcharge aspects, which is generally should be more damage and AoE, more fun to play, just does not perform good. You really lack any boards or glyphs you can actually play. You need to play Dominate and Survival Instinct. I'm not an AG fan. Actually, need to play AG on this build with Headhunter and Exploit. No, not Exploit. I misclicked that once on Exploit. But yeah, generally the build is lacking everything. It lacks good multipliers, good boards, good glyphs. You have resource issues. You have vulnerability issues. There are a lot of things. You have crit chance issues. There are a lot of things you need to fix on this build, and also toughness issues, as you see there. And I did not really spend time on it because it just did not feel fun. And I wouldn't really recommend playing Pulverize. It does not seem to be a good build, especially the Rotting Lightbringer. It only gives you the X250 bonus when you pull the mobs into you. That was not performing that good. So probably even the other variants playing it with the Beer Punch might be even better, but for me, that's just not Pulverize. Pulverize is hitting the ground the way we used to play for 3 seasons. But people didn't want to play Pulverize, and Blizzard, I guess, listened and just killed this build. So yeah, that's just a quick take on Pulverize. I do not recommend if anyone wants to play it. At least play. If you really want to love it and play it, here, go ahead. You can play it. But yeah, it's just not a really fun, good build. So that's it for the tier list, guys. And thanks for watching. I'm sorry if the quality was not that great. As you know, it was like 40 degrees Celsius in Germany. I had the AC running, so I had to put on some voice cancellation over the microphone. I hope it's okay. So yeah, and I know a lot of you guys also want a little bit longer explanation videos from me on my builds, but I think with the tier list video going through the season, people generally want to see what are the best builds around what to play. You will find all the builds, as I said again, down in the video, and feel free to ask in the comments. And if season starts, you guys know I'll be streaming on Twitch. You can drop by anytime and ask questions. And so yeah, I just want to give a general idea what builds we can play in the coming season. Druid is looking really to be one of the strongest build classes and with a big build variety. So yeah, I'm hyped for the season. Hope we get some love for the Druid. We're getting a little more players and come back to playing Druid. It's going to be a great season for Druid. Mobility, fast, cool builds, and we're going to be rocking. So that's it from me, guys. Stay well, keep shifting. We will be back in a few days with the live season. GG.